The events probably should be the first in the list on Scratch blocks because you need an event to start a stack. All event blocks have a curvy top edge at the top like that because that shows that they can sit at the top and you're not conditional on another block being fulfilled to carry on. You're conditional on an input from the user. So again, going back to national curriculum, that's input from the user. Now, the green flag is the most famous one and the most commonly used. However, it's not always the most inconvenient because it puts you right up in the top corner. So if I want to make him move 10 steps every time and I'm clicking up there, that's a bit different for movement. I'd probably, like we've seen in other videos, I'd probably want to think about using the right arrow. So I take the next block, which has got a key press, and I can code it to any key press I want. All the key characters are on there. So you can have lots and lots of different actions going. So obviously it makes sense for that one to be a right-hand key press. A very useful one as well is when the sprite is clicked, it does something. So we've looked at that one for sound or for saying hello. So when I click on him, he says hello. You need to be able to see the sprites doing, and it needs to be on the screen as well. That can sometimes be a bit of a barrier. And then when we've got one that links into background changes, this is useful in an animation or in a game. So if the backdrop changes costume, the sprite changes costume. So say you've had a cat on a street and then you moved on to scene 2 in the play, you could have it that the cat, as the background changes from a street to a castle, the cat changes to a princess. So that's a possibility to use. One really interesting one that is useful in a classroom is the loudness one. Now, straight away, I get asked by my Chromebook if I want to use the microphone. I'm going to say aloud to that. And this event triggers when loudness goes above 10. So if the volume registers above 10, it will trigger if it's whatever I have in the stack. That can be really useful for you've got to tidy up without triggering the Scratch cat saying hello or I can hear you. That can be very powerful, and obviously it's set as greater than 10. You can change it to a timer as well. So when a timer gets to 10, he'll say, your time is up. Two really little useful tools. Timer can be very useful as well if you're setting up an animation and you don't want to mess around with messages, which happen to be the most complicated one of all the events and something we generally can avoid for now. The idea here is that when you receive message 1, so you can define the messages. So the 2 events you can use here, broadcast messages. So at the bottom of a stack of instructions, you could broadcast a message, which would then trigger the next stack. So I could have my little thing saying he's going to go to a random position when the green flag is clicked. He's going to sort of play the sound meow and then broadcast message 1. That will then, so if I play through this stack, that will then trigger this stack and he'll say your time is up, hopefully. So he's worked his way down the stack and he's triggered message 1. So again, I'll click green flag. He's moved down there, and then once he's moved there, he's broadcast the message, and then he said, your time is up. It can be useful in animations if you've got 2 different sprites working between each 2, because one sprite could broadcast message 1, and then sprite 2's stack could begin with when I receive message 1. Obviously, you've got the ability to add more and more messages there. It can be a bit fiddly, it can be a bit complicated, so just be very careful with that one. I think probably most useful in animations or game over screens, but there are other ways to do that as well. Just it's an option, and with Scratch, as always, there's lots of ways to do the same thing.